Ladies and gentlemen, a very warm welcome here in the chapel in the BUAS campus that we have, the new campus. Welcome, and especially welcome to the Minister of Education, Culture and Science, Mr. Dijkgraaf. Very glad that you could be here and that you could join us. We have an hour with a lot of things that we want to show you and also about your opinion about. So that's going to be very interesting also for everybody here. Also a warm welcome to all the viewers on the stream. We're streaming this event. It's a hybrid event like we have to do in these times. So everybody online also welcome. My name is Govert Lukke. I'm one of the lecturers here. I'm involved with the Tourism and Leisure and Hotel Academy, and my specialty is attractions and theme parks. And this is a little bit like a theme park maybe today, but not that much so. We quickly want to start with, we have a full program, so I want to actually invite Jorrit Snijder, President of the Board here at BUAS.
One of the valuable lessons my favorite grammar school teacher taught me was to reread one book every year. And this summer, I reread Ernest Hemingway's For Whom the Bell Tolls. It's set in the Spanish Civil War and is very topical if you look at the war in the Ukraine. But its theme is also very relevant to us here today, to our students and faculty and staff, to BUAS and the BUAS Plus ambitions, and to the universities of applied sciences in general and their repositioning. Please let me explain. Hemingway took the title and the theme from a poem by John Donne. In it, Donne makes the point that we are all part of mankind. And therefore, every person's death diminishes us all. So, ask not for whom the bell tolls, it tolls for thee, for you and for me. And I want to stretch that point a bit. What happens to society happens to us. The changes and challenges society faces do not just affect other people, are not just their problem or responsibility, they are ours. So the bell and this poem over here are about taking responsibility. And before I elaborate, let me welcome you all to this official opening of the BUAS Plus year and the year of our fellow universities of applied sciences. And every academic and professional year is about fresh beginnings and endless possibilities. But for me and for us, this year is even more special. It has an extra plus. And of course, that's to do with the arrival of our minister, Professor Robert Dijkgraaf, and also the president of the University of Applied Sciences, Maurice Limme, and one of our brightest alumni. Well, he's nodding a bit now, but you can explain later, Steven van der Heijden, CEO of Cor en Don. And there's also the president of CODARS, Wilma Franchimon, with us today. And I saw him there, over there, the general major, the commander of the Dutch Defense Academy, Richard Oppelaars. Great that you are there. We're also in the presence of the director, the CEO of the Brabant Development Agency, Brigitte van Dijk. And both the vice mayors of Breda, who are here today, Boas Adankt and Arjan van Drunen. Welcome to our supervisory board as well. Great that you are here. And our two new directors. Where are they? I see Erwin van Braan over there, the new director of Education, Research and Information Management, and Aafke de Kok. Aafke, yeah, you're over there. And she is our new director of People and Organization. And Aafke and Erwin will be joining us in a couple of weeks from now. So welcome on board, and we expect a lot from you. So you already know. But most of all, a very special welcome to you, our students and staff. For this opening, this coming year, is ultimately about you. And we have the privilege of welcoming over 2,000 new students, including 580 international students from 55 different countries across all the academies. And that testifies to the international character and reputation of our institute. You bring us a global perspective. You bring us cultural enrichment and make us the vibrant and diverse international community we are. So let me start with you. The bell tolls for our students. You are the future tourist, leisure, hotel and facility management experts and managers, mobility, logistics, transport and built environment specialists, media, artificial intelligence professionals and game designers. And in these roles, you will help shape our world. You can make a difference. And with the continuous change around us, we cannot exactly know what your jobs will look like. You will have to shape them too. And we at BUAS want to empower you as young professionals on that journey that starts today. And I expect you not only to discover BUAS, but to shape BUAS as well. And we will give you the best study program possible with BUAS skills for life and tools to take ownership of your studies, to follow your own path. And that's what we mean with BUAS Plus and Education Plus. So please seize that opportunity. The bell tolls for BUAS as well. And this year is called the BUAS Plus year for a reason. The plus is the symbol, the summation, literally and figuratively, of who we are and what we want to do. The plus stands for improving the skills of our faculty and staff as well. We are going to do this collectively. And this year, we will launch a BUAS-wide teaching and learning center. Together with colleagues from Breda University, Southern Cross University, and Harvard University, we were experimenting last year with seminars about excellent learning through teaching excellence. And concentrating and making use of the didactical knowledges that is here in our community, and improving this with experienced colleagues from other institutes, this will be the key, and will bring us a plus for our professors and students in the end. The plus has also stands for an R&D program that goes beyond applied, beyond finding practical solutions for theoretical knowledge. Our research should solve real-world challenges in the industries we serve, on the ground, in practice, by engaging students and professional doctorate candidates who can shape them in upcoming complex transition processes. And our professors collectively, and I see almost all here around, developed a cunning R&D plan that will take a step further this year by launching a BUAS Research and Graduate School. And the means that you, Minister Dijkgraaf, made available will really help us strengthen this cross-domain research agenda and enable us to work with leading business partners and industries, both regional and international. So thank you for that. Because for just as John Donne said, no man is an island. And BUAS is not an island either. For example, we have offered the chairman of the Eindhoven University of Technology our help in meeting the huge demand for highly qualified personnel in the Brainport area. And we will be exploring possibilities with you, Richard, and the Netherlands Defense Academy in the coming months. Finally, the bell tolls for the Universities of Applied Sciences. And I'm really glad that the VH commissioned the Bormans Committee to come up with a repositioning of the University of Applied Sciences. I think this is really much needed. I do not have the time to go into detail, but in essence, the issue is this. We need a lot of well-educated, self-directing professionals to empower our industries and drive the transitions we are facing. And our colleagues from the research universities must deliver their share, but the current and increasing student numbers are more than they can handle, and actually also more than society needs. And on the other hand, society needs more vocationally trained professionals. Those are the ones that we, as universities of applied sciences, deliver. And if we let this disbalance grow, society will pay the price. In poorly served labor markets, a loss of creative capacity and competitive strength, and increasing inequality. So to meet this challenge, we must work together. And if we retreat what we have done many times before to our academic and professional towers, it will be a zero-sum game. But if we each contribute our own strengths and form coalitions, we can realize a plus there as well. And Brabant's Higher Education Pact, that all the universities of applied sciences and research universities signed last Friday, that's such a coalition. And on behalf of all the presidents of the Brabantse Higher Education Institute, we could highly recommend, dear Minister, the Brabantse ecosystem as an ideal testing bed for further national policies and initiatives. And especially the West Brabant learning communities on creative technology. With the game up, I think that's really promising. We as universities of applied sciences can contribute by offering also challenging short-track programs for graduates from pre-university VWO education. And I think this will be really a game changer, a 4-year inspiring program in which students from VWO, from pre-university education, can achieve a master's degree. And we can, and I think also we should, contribute to the debate by being more proud of our alumni, and holding them up as role models. Yeah, I'm looking at you, Steven, again, but people like Steven van der Heijden, here with us today. And to show that a better world is not shaped by Nobel Prize winners only. That the contribution made by the professionally educated is just as important. And we, at BUAS, with our ambitious BUAS Plus strategic direction, stand ready to contribute to this future. We have heard the bell toll. It tolls for us, all of us. And let's answer the call, take our responsibility, and make this year a great one. Thank you so much.
We really have to speed up the program. So I want to invite Robert Dijkgraaf and Maurice Limmen to come up to the stage because we have a more than informal setting created. Minister, you can sit over here. Mr. Limmen, you can sit over there. It's more like a little bit like a college tour. As we know, the Dutch program normally presented by Twan Huis. So everybody said, you're Twan Huis now. I said, I don't look that well. So, but I will try. You're guest here as special guest for our opening, but we also have, of course, the Tourism Academy here. So I want to ask a simple question. How was your summer holiday?
My summer was wonderful. I was, I guess, one of the few people in the Netherlands who didn't travel.
Okay.
Because all of you couldn't leave the country for 2 years. I couldn't enter the country for 2 years.
Oh, right, yeah.
So, and actually we spent it with the whole family in Limburg.
Oh,
so, which was wonderful.
Which feels a little bit like going to a foreign country as well.
Well, anyhow, the weather was, I guess, the weather that southern France had 30 years ago, so no need to travel anymore.
Maurice Limmen, where did you go?
I went to...
Oh, well, sorry, I will give you the microphone, I'm sorry.
Well, I went to... does this work?
It's working, yeah.
Okay. I went to France, it was quite hot. That's what I mostly remember. But apart from that, we had some wine and we visited some beautiful chateaus. So it was very nice. Thank you.
Minister, you dedicated 100 million euros per year for applied research. Why did you do that?
Well, I think actually, I must say, I really agreed, Jort, with your speech, because now it's so important that universities of applied science, get their role, the key role they have in our educational system. And I say at every occasion, we still think in terms of a kind of a hierarchical model. I like to kind of make it, flip it around and see it more as a fan, just a broad range of different educations from MBO, HBO, WO. And universities like this are actually kind of in the middle. They play an incredibly important role, and I think they combine really the three things that I think are essential to our whole educational system. Broad accessibility, high quality, but also really connected to society. And so what we want to emphasize, that independent of which direction is your direction, you can go as far as possible. And I think actually the research component has been lacking, it has been building up. I've seen wonderful examples here, but can be strengthened. And because I think that will be also part of solving this other problem, namely making students enthusiastic to enter these kind of courses and programs, because they can go far. They see they are connected to the latest technology. And we need, I think, having the research and also the connection to applications, which are part, I think, of the makeup of University of Applied Science. Actually, that combination will also innovate the education. So it's actually the lead times will be much shorter. And it's a different kind of research. It's not the kind that I did as a theoretical physicist. But as I said, it's extremely relevant. And I would say, we see everywhere in our lives that knowledge and research is getting more and more important. And so we want to have it being applied, literally applied everywhere. And I think you're in a key position here to do so.
You actually was here already for an hour, did a tour. Did you really see this working here as well?
Yeah, it's amazing. So I saw, one thing was really impressive, basically a video screen that I know well, from television shows. But actually it's interactive, right? So in some sense you read a lot about virtual reality and this new virtual world that we move into. And some of us, from an older generation, might be skeptical, but how wonderful for the students to become essentially native in this technology. So for them, it will be completely obvious that they can work in that, and also interesting to see, again, using the connection with industry to get some of the equipment, so extremely exciting.
Okay. Normally in a talk show like College Tour, there are also questions from students. So students who has a question for the minister or for Mr. Limmen, please stand up, and give you our name and maybe a question. Yeah, that's very good. My colleague Marco is bringing a microphone.
Thank you. Hello, Minister. My name is Lisa Hoendrop, and I'm the fourth-year student of tourism management. And I'm curious, what would your life lesson be for us as a tourism student?
What would I like?
What would be your life lesson for us?
Life lesson?
Yeah.
Oh, there are many. Okay, so one thing I think is, be aware that, you are the future, right? So you have, probably a better sense of where the world is going and what the world needs. So be proud of what you know and be self-assured. Also, I would advise you that, I always say that, if I talk to the students, they feel they're boarding a high-speed train. So you pick your field and that's your life. But actually, it's a local train. It's a boemeltreintje. It takes many, many stops. So be aware there will be many moments in your career where you might want to, switch trains or do something else, and be open to that, because there are so many things that will happen. And I think I hope that you have learned the skills here to take advantage of that. And I think that actually is extremely exciting. So if you're worried, many students are worried, did I pick the right path? Don't worry that much. There are plenty of opportunities, I think, to switch, enrich yourself, and be open for that. Certainly the train might stop. And then you have a very difficult question to answer, do I stay in the train or do I switch trains?
Yeah, flexibility also needs to be.
Flexibility.
Yeah. Research shows that attracting more international students is beneficial for the Dutch economy and contributes to the global mindset. An international classroom, that's what Jorrit was telling as well. 55 countries are represented within our industry, within our university. As the BUAS industry sectors are very internally oriented, it's very important to BUAS to have those international students in here. But what's your vision on international students coming to the Netherlands?
Well, first, it's wonderful. I mean, the fact that the Netherlands is very special because it's so internationally connected in everything we do. I think we might be one of the most international-oriented countries, a special role as a hub on the European continent. So it's wonderful to have these international connections. We need them in industry, we need them in research. The question is, what is the optimal situation, right? And we have been growing, clearly see the benefits. There are also stress in the system. So I feel sometimes I'm driving in a car, and there's an accelerator, there's not really a brake, and it's not really a steering wheel. So we have to start thinking about what is a kind of stable or sustainable level of international students, which means that I think some institutions might want more, other one might want less, and we have to think about it strategically. So I would love, if we have labor shortages, so if we can get, the best students of the world to come here, be trained, and work in the Netherlands and add to our economy, that's a terrific thing. If our students are trained internationally so that they can go all over the world, and I would say they still play in an orange shirt, right? They're still part of
our
impact on the world. So I think that's also, these are great benefits, but I feel that we have been a little bit, without control, and I think together we have to think about it in a more systematic way. And we'll do that because this year actually we start with the Hogescholen en Universiteiten together a future outlook. So we'll take the whole year, and internationalization in all its aspects will be an important ingredient. And it's also something that, even in our parliament, there are strong views on this. But I think, again, the bottom line is it's a wonderful thing. And it's great to see here, particularly in your fields, how international you are, and it's really part of your DNA, I think.
Yeah, it is. Maurice, your organization claims actually that repositioning of higher applied education is crucial to the Dutch society. Because of the themes just mentioned, the labor market is in jeopardy, maybe also the innovativeness of education is there. And we tend to develop a little bit in the wrong direction. What's your vision on that?
Well, I'll tell you something about that. But first of all, I'd like to emphasize how much I like being here. Because I can share with you that there's just one University of Applied Science in the Netherlands, which I seem to recollect my visit so well, my last visit, because that was in March, I think, 2020. And that was just a couple of days before the whole, lockdown thing happened. And so you have all these pictures of me with all the students, and we were, this is lovely here, and you see me everywhere standing. And then in the end, we decided not to publicize all these pictures because it would give the wrong picture of our sensitivity to the virus. But nonetheless, it was a fantastic visit. I must say, the buildings here, the beautiful cultural heritage, I really love being here. But yes, something is going on in the field of the higher education in the Netherlands, and I think some things are not going in the right direction. That's why we, as the Association of Universities of Applied Science in the Netherlands, we have demanded there be a debate. And that's why we welcome also the dialogue which the minister has just evoked upon. I think Jorrit Snijder, your president, put it very briefly and pretty plainly in my view. The labor market in the Netherlands will have and already has a big demand with regard to higher educated employees. And this will only continue to grow. There are those in the Netherlands who would like to sort of deny that trend, and because they don't like it, because they don't appreciate it. But as we say in my family, your mother can't help you with that. In the Netherlands we say, daar helpt geen lieve moeder aan. So it is going to happen. And the only question is, how do we react with that? And I think Jorrit has made it quite plain. What we need is for it to become normal again, that pupils who graduate from, I must say, pre-education, pre-university education, de studenten van het VWO, it should become more normal that they go to universities of applied science. It should not be a thing you have to sort of explain. It should not be a thing these kinds of students sort of have to defend their decision. And that's the case at this moment. Now, why is that so important? That has not just only to do with the labor market, but there's some other thing going on, and Jorrit evoked upon that very briefly. And that has to do with inequality in the Netherlands and in our society. Because emancipation has to do with not only what you teach, but also the people you get to know. The networks those people have, if you understand what I'm trying to say. If their parents have already gone to university, they have a different kind of network than if it's first-generational students. What I think is that it would benefit highly the emancipation chances of our students if, just like, say, 40 years ago, about a quarter of our students would effectively come from a pre-university educational background. I think that's very important, not only from a background with regard to a labor market, but also, I think this is my cue that I should be sort of stopping.
Yeah. I must say, we want one student's question, so please, if you can actually round
but
up
also,
your story.
that was sort of my final...
I don't understand, Sorry about that.
So what I'm saying is it's not important only with regard to the labor market, but also with regard to social policy and the chances of people of making something, making the best out of their talents. Thank you.
Thank you. A lot of still questions, topics that we could discuss, but the students are also here, so maybe there are some students that want to ask a question. It's the final one, keep it short. My colleague Marco is running actually into a student over here on the left side for me.
Thank you for having me. So you have been minister now for 6 months. Where would you envision the main challenges and opportunities for the higher professional education in the coming year, and what are you still worried about?
Well, I think my main challenge is actually coming back to what Maurice was saying and what you addressed, is to make sure that every kind of tertiary education, which is indeed the University of Applied Sciences, it's also our vocational training, MBO, that all of them are equally valued, that all of them have the opportunities to professionally develop, and that we use, I would say, which is the greatest quality of the Netherlands, is I like to say, we are world champion in collaborating. It's a typical Dutch trait that if you have a good plan, you try to find partners and join them. So I think these are the positive things. So I would say kind of, flipping that image, making sure everything is at the same level. I think that's, the big plan. And I would also say, and added to that I think there's a fourth quality I feel that our education system should have, is that it really not only connects to society, what society wants, but also what you, the students, want. And I think there might be a difference in it, because society has all kind of demands right now, but you are actually preparing for future jobs, actually for a future that you will be making. So you better have the skills that still work in 20 or 30 years. Sometimes I joke, at a place like this, it's like developing the iPhone 50, but you can't use it. It has to be in the package. You unwrap it in 20 years, and it does exactly what you want. Now, that's actually quite a high aim. So I think actually putting the students at center stage in which we build our educational system, I think that's also for me a great challenge, and we need all of you to help us with that.
Okay. Thank you for the question. Good question. Minister Dijkgraaf, I want to ask you to actually walk to the button here because we're going to officially open.
I think I can handle that.
You can handle that, yeah? Okay, yeah, okay. And actually, everybody will want to be involved in this, well, beautiful thing. It's actually for us like New Year's Eve, so we've got some things prepared as well.
Okay, good. But I just want to echo how absolutely amazing and beautiful everything looks like here, and how excited I am to be at this particular location to open.
And so much thanks for coming, actually. We're very happy that you're here. Okay, everybody, are you ready to open the academic year 2022-2023? Yes, okay. There is a countdown, so count down, please, with us. Here we go. Oh. Here we go. I want to hear you. Thank you so much, Maurice Limmen, thank you so much. If I can take over the microphone. Please have a seat and we continue the program. Oh, sorry, Mr. Dijkgraaf, sorry. I have a special gift for you, actually. Oh. So, I think this is the best moment to give that, because you're in this beautiful chapel, and we have a very special, well, let's say, memory, souvenir, we're in that business, of this chapel. So I want to invite Siobhan, one of our students that participated in the Project Rembrandt TV show.
Okay.
And is a games and media student. And what we did when we opened this campus is actually, we had her in the back of the chapel drawing that moment. And we're in the same moment. Yeah, she did live. So she wants to hand over the picture, and you want to tell him something, right? Yeah.
First of all, I really want to thank you for being here today. I think it's safe to say that as a BUA student and the staff at BUAS, we're very proud to have you here today. And as you said, it looks lovely in here.
It does.
So I want to give this to you, so you will remember us. And once again, thank you so much for opening this academic year here.
Yeah.
Thank you, Siobhan. Sorry, Minister, you can sit down now. And Mr. Limmen, we have a present for you as well that will be handed over. Actually, we want to showcase, of course, this applied sciences that we have here and the research that we do. So I want to invite to the stage Jeroen Webner, Christel Zegers, and Sophie Terlien. Come over. Oh, sorry. I hear Steven is coming first. That's in my ear, sorry, yeah. So actually, Steven, sorry, you're first. First, let's see what the tourism industry is struggling with before we go into the F1 of last weekend. Sorry.
Thank you. I thought I was already, because of the time limit, skipped from the program. One small remark to my introduction earlier by Jorrit. The education I took in Breda 41 years ago was nothing like what I see today. This is really a big step up. But I have been enjoying my stay at Breda at that time thoroughly, and I've remained in tourism, the tourism industry, ever since. Okay, Excellency. I like the word, so I really look forward to use it. Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, we live in a confusing world. A war has been raging on European soil for over 6 months now. Gas and electricity prices have risen almost tenfold in the space of less than a year, and the production and logistics of essential products, such as computer chips, have been seriously disrupted. Consumers are suffering from inflation, the likes of which have not been seen in more than half a century. And we could well be on the verge of another COVID-19 outbreak. All economic theories and models can be dumped because never in history have we experienced high inflation, low interest rates, and a completely overstrained labor market simultaneously. Taking inflation into account, we are already in the midst of a fierce economic recession. This is the daily reality in our companies. And if there's one sector that is particularly sensitive to international turmoil, political unpredictability, and high energy prices, it's the world of travel and hospitality. An industry that has barely recovered from the COVID-19 crisis that has left deep financial wounds. For almost 2 years, many companies in our industry have been hanging on their fingernails at the edge of the cliff. And now that travel is finally possible again without too many restrictions, many companies are slowly recovering. My own company, Corendon, currently experiences an excellent year in terms of turnover and profit, but that only partly compensates for the losses we incurred in the COVID year 2020. And the dark clouds are already building again. Jet fuel prices have more than doubled in a short time. Combined with other price increases and steep rise in taxes and charges, this has resulted in 30 to 40% higher flight prices. Hotels, too, have to raise their rates substantially as a result of the sky-high prices for energy and increasingly so also food. In addition, we are confronted with the consequences of the tight labor market. Not only is it very difficult to find new employees, but they are also considerably more expensive due to this scarcity. And as a result, employers have no choice but to raise the salaries of existing staff as well, to prevent imbalances, but also to compensate their employees to some extent for the rampant inflation. The Dutch government wants to raise the legal minimum wages substantially next year as part of the packages of measures to compensate for the decline in purchasing power. And that's good news, of course, for employees at the bottom of the labor market, like in the hospitality sector, where there are a lot. But unfortunately, this is likely to be no more than a drop in the ocean when it comes to stimulating purchasing behavior. Consumers are extremely fearful of their energy bills now that the heating season is approaching again. We must therefore expect consumers to be unwilling to spend money on leisure activities easily next year, while on the other hand, employers will be faced with significantly higher costs. And these are just our short-term challenges. The really big challenge of our time is, of course, to avert a climate catastrophe. And this again will have a major impact on our energy-intensive travel and hospitality sector. I'm very concerned about the lack of lead, the lack of direction in the process of energy transition. Our social and economic system is not designed for such fundamental changes. The free market economy is based on competition, on price, and therefore on costs. Companies that lead the way in sustainability will certainly have a competitive advantage in the long run, but that advantage is not yet concrete enough to justify the huge investments. There is a flaw in our system that is now becoming painfully apparent. I'm convinced that many leaders of our large companies are willing to sacrifice part of their profits and even of their own remuneration for an accelerated energy transition. Their shareholders, on the other hand, unfortunately still evaluate the performance of companies they invest in mainly, if not exclusively, on the basis of short-term financial performances. After all, profit determines the share price and thus the value of the company they invest in. This means that they also reward the directors of the companies in which they invest primarily on the basis of profits and only marginally on the basis of other objectives such as sustainability. One would expect governments to take control of the energy transition more forcefully, but in practice that proves to be very difficult and challenging. To make sufficient progress, hard and painful choices are necessary, and this is not a strong suit for governments in Western democracies, and certainly not in a coalition country like the Netherlands. Aviation policy is a good example. Virtually everyone in our sector is now convinced that things must change. Smarter, more economical, quieter, and also less, where possible. Why are there almost 50 flights from Schiphol Airport to London only today, when the destination can easily be reached by train? Why are there hardly any initiatives in Western Europe to really speed up the realization of an efficient, high-speed rail network with much higher capacity? After all, we saw already years ago, many years ago, in large countries like France and Japan, that such a network reduced domestic flying by more than 80%. And why is there hardly any incentive to fly with the most modern generation of aircraft in the Netherlands? Planes that not only produce far fewer emissions, but are also far quieter, which in densely populated areas around Dutch airports is a major additional benefit. And if the Netherlands does not do this, or to a lesser extent than other countries, airlines will use their youngest aircraft for those other destinations, and the Netherlands will be suffering from more noise, more emission, and more pollution. At institutes such as BUAS, students are being trained to help shoulder the responsibility for solving these problems and finding the difficult balance between economic prosperity and climate. Particularly at a time when the labor market is tight and top talent is even scarcer, organizations need to hold on to that scarce top talent by giving them opportunities to take new approaches and implement fundamental changes. Whereas my generation found it perfectly normal to work 60, 70, 80 hours a week for many years in order to reach the top and to subordinate everything to this, today's talented people want to do things in a completely different way. Much better work-life balance, working from home, parental leaves, part-time work, also in management positions, and as many email-free evenings, weekends, and holidays as possible. I support this wholeheartedly, but we must also realize that drastic change or coping with disasters such as COVID crisis requires full involvement, effort, and commitment. If the members of my management team would have given priority to their private lives during the COVID crisis, I don't think Corendon would be still around. I realize that my speech is rather pessimistic. There are hard nuts to crack in a turbulent environment. We are currently facing the consequences of the opportunistic pursuit of unbridled growth that my generation in particular has been guilty of in recent decades. We have buried our heads in the sand for the consequences of this opportunism. Moreover, we are now paying the price for our naive optimism. We were convinced that there would never be again aggressive wars within the Western world. But fortunately, there's still a lot to be happy about, especially in the Netherlands. I was recently in cities like New York and Paris, where the homeless are lined up in the parks and under bridges and viaducts. Their real poverty is very visible in the streets. If in the years to come we are prepared to sacrifice just a little of our economic prosperity and invest in a sustainable future, then we will undoubtedly live in prosperous times again. Perhaps not as carefree as before, but certainly a lot more sustainable. All the better for the generations that will follow me and you. Thank you very much.
We will see you back later in the panel, but we also have a good example of how we could actually work with those challenges in the industry. We have done a big project, and this big project was connected to last weekend. Who did see Max win yesterday? Show me some hands. Are you proud that you're Dutch now? Yeah? We are. The Orange Army was there, and actually, what happened behind the F1 circus was what our teams and students did. So I want to invite Jeroen Webner, Christel Zegers, and Sophie Terlin. They give them a round of applause. They have worked on this project. There were a lot of challenges as well, I believe, in that project as well. But Jeroen, how did we start working together as BUAS with the Formula One Dutch Grand Prix?
Yes, thank you, Goof. Well, we started talks with the city of Zandvoort 4 or 5 years ago, before actually the contract with the Formula One management were signed. So we were very early. And well, this event has great opportunities for our students. It's a logistic operation, a challenge on mobility, 100,000 visitors a day towards a beach-sided village. It has multiple challenges also on sustainability. They want to become the most sustainable Formula One event in history. And also, if we look to tourism and hospitality, it's wonderful opportunities for our students, all combined in one event. And so we created an educational program on that. And along the way, also the Dutch Grand Prix organization and the city of Zandvoort recognizes our added value to that. So our students, know the situation in Zandvoort. They were aware of the sensitivities in the process, and also became familiar with the stakeholders involved. So, it turns out to several internships, graduation thesis, and actually we had someone working at the Dutch Grand Prix this year.
Yeah, actually I went to the Grand Prix area last Monday, and I interviewed Eline Schuijers, who was actually a graduate student with the Formula One, also did her minor, and now is part of the organization. So let's have a look at the clip that I made with Eline. Ik sta hier met Eline Schuijers. En Eline, waar staan we?
Ja, we staan op het circuit in Zandvoort voor de Dutch Grand Prix.
Ja, en alles wordt nog voorbereid, want we zijn in de week voor het evenement.
Ja.
Waar kijken we naar? Want ik zie hier heel veel dingen. We zitten een soort backstage. Maar ik herken volgens mij daar de kombocht. Klopt dat?
Ja, klopt. Achter die witte tenten, daar ligt de kombocht.
Ja.
Dus daar ligt eigenlijk direct het circuit.
Ja.
Daar links zie je nog de tribunes, eigenlijk de hoofdtribunes.
Ja.
En hier waar we nu staan, hier komt een stukje paddock.
Een stukje paddock nog. Nu zijn ze nog aan het opbouwen. Er komen heel veel materialen binnen, dat is heel spannend. Kun je vertellen wat jouw rol hier is?
Ja, dus ik zit in teammobiliteit.
Ja.
En ik hou me bezig met de voetgangers en de fietsers. Hoe die eigenlijk hier in Zandvoort komen.
Ja. Dan kan ik me van vorig jaar beelden herinneren waarin een soort mensen op hoge strandstoelen zaten om mensen door te laten lopen. Is dat een van de ideeën die ook van jouw hand is?
Nou nee, want vorig jaar was ik nog niet bij.
Nee.
Maar ik ondersteun het wel erg, want het zorgt voor een stukje veiligheid en een stukje informatievoorziening. Dat mensen weten waar ze naartoe moeten. Maar ook sfeer.
Sfeer, ja. Je hebt de minor People and Goods on the Move gedaan bij Breda University of Applied Sciences. Toen zijn jullie eigenlijk in contact gekomen met de Formule 1. Kun je daar wat over vertellen hoe dat is gegaan?
Ja, dus heel die minor ging eigenlijk over het organiseren van zo'n groot evenement als de Formule 1. Ze hadden eigenlijk Formule 1 als casus. Ja. En we kwamen met alle studies bij elkaar om eigenlijk te kijken hoe zo'n evenement nou gewoon georganiseerd wordt. Ja.
Dus zowel de mobiliteit waar jij mee te maken hebt, een stukje leisure, toerisme heb ik ook begrepen.
Ja, logistiek.
En logistiek. Al die dagen komen hier in één evenement eigenlijk heel dicht bij elkaar. Ja. Inmiddels is het ook je afstudeeronderwerp geweest. Kun je vertellen wat jouw onderzoek inhield?
Ja, dus ik hield me bezig met voetgangers tussen het station en het circuit. Ja. Hoe die veilig hier konden komen.
Ja. En de uitdaging dit jaar is dat het er meer zijn, dus dat maakt het dan al spannender. Nou, dankjewel Eline.
Ja.
En Eline had een heel druk weekend. She had a very busy weekend. So she couldn't be here, she wanted to be here, but it's also involved in breaking down the whole circus that is still there. I want to move to Sophie. Sophie, you're also a student, former student, we have to say, alumnus already. You did the Academy for Leisure and Events. What was your role actually in this project of the Formula One?
Yeah, I also chose a minor People and Goods on the Move. And we did research about the impact of the Dutch Grand Prix on domestic tourism in Zandvoort.
Yeah.
And we found out that it had a big impact, mainly on the brand awareness of Zandvoort. People also see it as a place to go for a beach day or a small weekend, just to take a little vacation. But it also really came forward that people saw it as a racing city now, and the circuit was really important to them. So yeah, a very positive impact.
Yeah, Zandvoort is back on the map, internationally even. So we saw that last weekend as well. Christel, you are also, as a researcher, involved. You were there last weekend. How was the atmosphere?
Well, the atmosphere is really great.
Yeah.
It was very nice to be back there. We are able to do, for 3 years in a row, to do research for the municipality of Zandvoort as well as the organization of the Dutch Grand Prix to investigate the economic and social impacts of the events.
Yeah.
And we do that, well, I'm very lucky to have 25 BUA students from all over the different domains with me last weekend to collect data among the visitors of the event as well as the people in Zandvoort, the visitors of Zandvoort. And actually the research is still going on because today we will start the research among the inhabitants of Zandvoort as well as the inhabitants of the nearby municipalities to also hear their experiences about the effects of the events.
Yeah. And the effects are truly there, right?
Definitely. Even last year we could really see that, despite the fact that it was a corona year and there were 65,000 visitors allowed. And this year you could really see it was a much busier with a full house, 105,000 visitors every day. But even last year there were significant economic impacts, and you could really see that based on the research that we did, that inhabitants of Zandvoort were extremely proud, were very committed to the event, and also the entrepreneurs of Zandvoort, and especially those in the catering and hotel industry, were very happy with the event.
Prices are very up as well, and that's due as well to knowing this event right now. Thank you, the three of you. I would like to invite Sophie to stay here, and you two can leave the stage, because actually we are going to take a look at if you have this challenge for, let's say, the F1, and we can tackle that. Maybe we can do that for tourism as well. They are nodding both, so I guess that is. Thank you, Jeroen and Christel. Okay, I would like to ask Steven to come on stage again, Jorrit to come on stage again, and we are going to discuss maybe, well, what could BUAS or other universities of applied sciences might do in this, let's say, challenge that was mentioned by Steven. Steven, you mentioned this, you already said these are really tough topics that we have to address in society. What could be the first thing that you want to research maybe, or what you have an advice upon?
Well, I did not prepare for this question really, but I think that the way this Zandvoort research was set up was very good, in the sense that it was addressed from many different angles and addressed also many individual topics. So and also the climate change and the energy transition is something that has to be solved by solving a lot of individual issues, and it has a lot, and it's over a long time as well. Yeah. So I wouldn't say there's one specific research that needs to be done now, but there is a chain of research and topics that need to be researched quickly.
And that's actually what we do, Jorrit. If you look at other societal problems that we now see, do you see chances for BUAS as well, next to tourism, maybe in other academies and working fields that we're in?
Well, this is a great example of working across the domains in a learning community, a BUAS-wide learning community, and also a very topical one that we are having here. And also the courage, I think, of the research team, that we also are asking not only the economic effects and the gains there, but also the social impact of this event. And an interesting question perhaps could be if there would be an e-Formula One, would it the same effect or no? Or how can we encourage that? But this is an example for many other projects, and also in our research in graduate school, that we want to encourage that, to work with students, with researchers, also young researchers, and our professors, in combination also with our research colleagues of the research universities, and to come up with cunning questions and real-time questions.
Yeah.
That
And
are
also
there.
from different perspectives, looking at
Yeah.
the same topic or maybe parts of the topic. Like
That's where the action
said. Yeah.
will be. It will be not in the specific domains. It will be across domain.
Yeah.
And I think we're on the right track.
Yeah. Sophie, if you look at your current job, you're not working in the Formula One, but you're now working as?
I currently work at Dynamo in Eindhoven. It's a concert hall, but also a youth center.
Yep.
And I do production there.
Yeah. And do you see something from maybe the different perspectives that you've learned here, or things that you have learned here that you actually apply to your daily job right now?
Yeah, I think I do. A lot of things from my own study, like customer journey and direct exposure experiences, are things I also noticed in other studies. But also the crowd safety, a lot of logistic things I learned that during the minor are very important as well during my job right now.
Yeah.
And of course the international part, because I also work with international artists and they also need to come here, and it's important that they know where they come and what's important to them.
Yeah, and in the end, actually, that's something that you learned throughout your whole career at BUAS. So you were actually already prepared in the plus mode that Jorrit was mentioning earlier. Yeah. Very good. Maybe I'm looking, Ryan, you had a very good question for the minister. I don't know where Marco is with the mic. Oh, yeah, there you are. Do you have any idea what kind of topic in tourism that you would like to address? If you've just heard all the challenges that there are, is there a specific topic, because you're going to go into your minor and in the thesis phase, so the graduation phase? What would be that topic?
Well, I would really like working with a sustainable business model, because I really want to participate in creating a future-proof, sustainable society.
Yeah. So both, it has to be sustainable, as mentioned, but also there needs to be a good business model for that. If you think about a sustainable business model, what does that look like then?
Yeah, well, if I'm looking at that question from my perspective, it is pretty difficult on the short term. I sell package holidays by plane to foreign destinations. And that's what people want. And this is not something that can be made sustainable all of a sudden. There are a lot of developments which we are getting closer to flying, electric flying, but that's only for the short distance, in the short time. I talked about the trains, the high-speed rail network, which is very interesting, but will also take a lot of time. And the problem is that all these sunny islands where we take our clients cannot easily be reached by train. So, by the way, I have a house in Spain, and I went there by train this year. Yeah. That was, I would say, quite a challenge to get there. In the end, it went okay, but there's still a long way to go. So, but let's use the coming years to make as many businesses, as many things that we do more sustainable, and then hopefully in 15, 20 years latest, we can also make this longer voyages and these plane trips more sustainable, or even fully sustainable.
And it's also, you need to think outside the box, actually. And something that I often see, if I see students, they come up with wild ideas. So some ideas are maybe not potential to be realized, but they have this fresh mind to it. And that's also maybe a thing we need, because it's a very complex problem. I'm rounding up the program because it's time for the minister. He has to leave and go to Maastricht, I believe. So I'm rounding up by actually, say that if I listen today to what we've heard from Jorrit, from Steven, from the minister, and from Mr. Limmen, we can actually see that there is a big challenge ahead, but we need to tackle that challenge in a certain sense by looking at it from different perspectives. Luckily, we can do that, and also the universities of applied sciences can do this. And the research universities can do this. So actually, I have the feeling that we can start immediately. We will take up the glove tomorrow, maybe already. There's a call tomorrow with you, Steven, that you already know that we're going to call you and we're going to pick up the glove, at least on the topic of tourism. Let's start with that. And maybe if you are a colleague of mine, find these topics and try to pick up the glove as well. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you to Minister Dijkgraaf for being here. Mr. Limmen, thank you so much and have a good year. Have a good academic year.
Step